For anybody in the audience, just to let you know, it is 9 o'clock, but we've got a board member with technical difficulties, and our first person on the schedule has not shown up. That's why we haven't started yet this morning. Don't let me, Pat and Tom, don't let me forget before we sign off. We need to do the 2 proposed resolutions, or if
Yes.
Lynn comes on, we've got to do those 2 proposed resolutions.
Yep. I got it right here. I'll write down to remind myself to.
Just
Yep.
catching myself up with the schedule.
I understand. I don't know how you keep track of this, but oh, that case I talked to you about, was there any cancellations or anything?
Not yet.
Okay.
We still got time.
Just.
Yep.
Tomorrow's we should know by the end of the, well, he's got a private attorney, so it could come up all the way to the date of the hearing.
I mean, I would just, if it happens, I'll just make that declaration. Yep. Okay.
Yep. Okay, I'm gonna call Lynn.
Yeah.
This is Lynn, please. Thank you. This is Lynn, please. Thank you.
At the tone, please record your message.
I texted her. I'll see what I get back.
All right.
Hey.
Good morning, Lynn.
Okay, I'm here now.
Okay. Is your computer still locked up?
Yeah, I can't get into Teams. I've got 2 computers and my phone going and I can't get into anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
This will work. Amber, any updates on Harley?
Negative.
Okay. I will start the hearing day and then we can talk about the proposed resolutions board first while we're waiting for Hartford to come on or Mr. McDonald to show up. Today's date is October 2nd, 2024, and we are doing Burlington Probation and Parole, Hartford Probation and Parole, and Northern State Correctional Facility hearings via Microsoft Teams. Please note that the entirety of today's hearings will be recorded. Currently, we have our first person on the schedule, Harley MacDonald, has not shown up to the office yet. So I'm going to check in because it looks like Shadia just came on. Shadia, has Miss Needham come to the office yet? Because the Burlington case is not shown.
She has. I can go grab her if you guys are ready for
Okay,
her.
perfect. We can start with her.
Okay.
Thanks. So we will be doing Katie Needham first.
Yep.
And then if there's time in between, we will do the proposed resolutions instead of trying to track down attorneys and the facility.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Give me a second and I'll start the hearing. Today's date is October 2nd, 2024, and we are doing Hartford Probation Parole hearings via Microsoft Teams. This is a reprimand hearing for Katie Needham. Present is Parole Board Vice Chair Pat Bushy. Parole Board members Tom Giffen and Lynn Caroleo is on the telephone. Parolee Katie Needham, Probation Parole Officer Shadia Nasrallah, and Parole Board Director Mary Jane Ainsworth.
Thank you, Mary Jane. Good morning, Katie.
Good morning.
Katie, this is a reprimand hearing. So it's alleged that you violated 2 conditions of your parole agreement. And just a minute, I just lost them. Now my computer's doing weird things.
It's condition 8 and 9 that helps you.
Yep.
Pat.
I was just trying to bring up the form so I could read them. You shall not purchase, possess, or consume alcohol while you're on parole. And you shall not purchase, possess, or consume illegal drugs or regulated drugs without a prescription, and submit to a drug test if you're requested to do one. So for right now, we're going to talk to Shadia and see what she has to say, and then we'll decide whether or not we want to make this a violation hearing. So, Shadia, why don't you tell us about this?
So I brought Katie up on a reprimand hearing today because we have done her graduated sanctions before when she has relapsed. Katie has continued to attend treatment. However, things do appear to have escalated. As I mentioned in my report, there was an incident that was reported that she was intoxicated at the beach with her family. Katie did not tell me initially. I only found out through that phone call. And then when Katie came in, we addressed it. But I felt like because something similar has occurred, although not in the community, just her relapsing, and we've tried to issue graduated sanction, and the drinking continued and the behavior escalated, I felt like a reprimand was appropriate. We have since talked about the incident. There is a treatment plan in place. I just think it's very important for Katie to realize that she is, in fact, violating her conditions by drinking and continuing to drink. Although there is a treatment plan in place, she is putting others at risk. She is out in the community behaving this way. She's putting herself at risk, and I think my point in all this is to just remind Katie that she is on parole and there are consequences to these actions.
Okay. Now, it looked like the treatment plan had been in place for a while, or it's been ongoing.
Yeah, so her counselor has done a really great job at trying to work with Katie where she's at. I think it's worked, but I also think it's made Katie a little complacent. I can't speak for Katie, but it's just my opinion. Katie has not been employed for a very long time, and we and her have discussed that maybe getting a part-time job will help her get out of the house a little bit and give her a little bit more independence and relieve some of the stress that she might have, you know, being a mom. But, you know, there hasn't been any progress towards that. She does continue treatment. Like I said, she's very active in treatment, but this is just where we're at right now. There isn't a higher level of care that's been recommended. As per her counselor, residential treatment just does not fit in Katie's life right now, and they want to explore other areas. I also think that's probably something Katie could speak to a little bit more on her reservations, but like I said, she is on parole, and it's important for Katie to know that although certain things might not be in her agenda right now, continuing to behave this way and possibly getting violated and going back to the facility for this is also a possible outcome.
Right, right. Thank you. So, Katie, treatment is ongoing, but it doesn't seem to be working.
So since this incident at the beach.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have asked you a question. No.
Okay.
I forgot. Tom, do you have any questions of Shadia?
Yeah, just a couple. I know this is a wake-up call, Shadia, what you're doing, and are you comfortable with the treatment plan that's in place? Because you mentioned that there was complacentness and not following through with things. So you think this might be the treatment plan will continue to be successful, or more apt to be successful, I should say?
I will say we had a lot of treatment plans received in this office, and I think that this is probably the best treatment plan that I've gotten because it meets Katie where she's at, like it always has, but it also gives her an agenda where she does need to find employment by a certain amount of time. If not, she needs to do IOP. It's too soon to tell if this is gonna really help Katie or if this is just gonna be another treatment recommendation that we continue to receive. But Katie has come a long way despite her recent behaviors. I mean, I don't know if it was maybe a year ago that you were right before the board again, and she has come a long way. I need to stress the importance that she is still on parole, and this is why we're here today. So I think it's too soon to know if this treatment plan is going to work. But this is what we have now.
Well, I like your comment, come a long way. That makes you feel a little like there's something positive in all this, because I hadn't heard much positive from you till I heard that. So that makes me, that gives me a little some hope, shall we say. Okay, I have no further questions.
Thank you. Lynn, do you have any questions of Shadia?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Sorry. Shadia, when did she do the best in the past?
I would say she probably did the best. I want to say after you were released from jail. She did go to jail for violating one of her conditions and tampering with her scram unit about a year ago. Going back to the jail really affected Katie. Obviously, she's a mother and she missed out on a lot of stuff during that time that she was in jail. And I think that really kind of put her in gear. And I want to say about a year ago, she was really doing the best that she could do. And she continued. I would say, like, it started kind of going a little bit downhill and getting rocky just a few months ago.
Okay, great. That's all I have. I move for deliberative session.
Okay.
I have a motion and a second to go into deliberative session. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is unanimous. We'll be right back.
Lynn, you should go right over to the deliberative with your phone. If you don't, I will reconnect you in the process.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Yep. The board is on their way back. Just. Okay, we are back on the record with Katie Needham's case.
Thank you. Well, Katie, it is a unanimous decision that we are going to treat this as a reprimand hearing. We will put a notice in your file, reprimand in your file. So, as I was saying before, you've been in this treatment and you've had a plan, but you've been having a hard time following it. So what's going to be different now?
I guess, so I feel like since that incident at the beach,
Yeah.
things have been improving, slowly, but I feel like I am making progress. And, one of the things that I, came up with my counselor at Claire Martin was a deadline to have a job. And that was October 1st, or I would enroll in IOP. I thought I had a program that was going to work for me. But after really thinking about it, it was 40 hours a week. And I haven't, like Shadia said, I haven't worked in a long time. And I know that I don't have a bunch of support from my partner. And it felt like I know I can't do a full-time job and do my job at home. Like I know that it would be too stressful.
How
So
old are your
finding
children?
my children are 7 and 11.
So they're in school.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to find is something that works within those hours.
There are lots of openings out there for part-time jobs.
I'm looking, I'm on Indeed. It's just I haven't found the right fit.
Well, I think you've got a lot of free time, and that's part of your problem. If your kids are in school all day, you're at home.
Yeah.
So, Tom, questions?
No, I just think you need to be aware that, that you need to be in the treatment, follow the program, what's going on. Shadia gave you a break here, and I think that, I'm assuming that if you have issues, you'll talk to her. But you do need to, again, you had a good spell for 2 years, and now it's time to, make sure you follow through with everything that you're supposed to be doing.
Thank you. Lynn?
I don't have any questions at this time. Thank you.
So, this is kind of a warning for you. So, hopefully you abide by this treatment plan and you don't come back in front of us, because there might be a different outcome. So I hope you can find a job, because I think you need
I
that.
do too. Yes.
Okay. There's a lot out there, believe me.
Yeah, I know there is.
Thank you. Thank you, Shadia.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Amber, any updates?
He's still not here.
Okay. We have one more hearing and then we'll be done.
Okay. I'll stand by.
If you want to, you can just email me and let me know. If you don't want to sit in I assume you're in the conference room, but maybe not.
That's fine. We're having a team session. We're good.
Okay, perfect. I'll check in
Thanks.
with you afterwards.
Okay.
Thanks. All right, I have Kyle Lowe up next.
Give me 1 second, Mary Jane. Let me get him in the room.
Okay, is Dawn up there with you?
She's not.
Okay. Let me get a hold of her then. Good morning. It'll just be a moment or two before we start your hearing. We're waiting for your attorney to come on.
Is this lower up here? Do you want it lower? That's fine. You move this for a second. I'll come to you.
And we also have, Shannon, do you know if the subpoenaed witnesses are appearing by teams or are they appearing in your office?
Teams. Officer Sykes is on. It's listed as Travis Bingham.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then there is an evidentiary witness as well for PRO, and
Okay.
I don't see that witness on either.
Usually if this person that's involved. I didn't even get to it last night. Bring on the phone, yeah, Packers here. See me. Yeah, call Charlie Alpha Beta, they're like, well, he's in Charlie Bravo now. And that's fine, because the thing is, I was like, and the reason why Cook found me guilty was because Bob said that I threatened him with that earshot. Everybody was in that moment. Who's the officer? And this one new guys. You know what I mean? So it's like. Are you expecting anything of this coming? Talk to Don. I talked to him last night. Yeah. This issue. Anyone that's so. You know, so.
Dawn Seibert said she is on her way.
You do?
Morning, Bob.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning, Shannon.
They're ready for you? I'll be right up there. Yeah, I'll look into that. No guarantees though. No, absolutely.
Good morning, Mr. Bartnick. We'll be starting the hearing momentarily.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Great.
All right, so I think Don just arrived. I am going to, being that we have two witnesses here for evidence, Officer Sykes and Andy Burtnack, I'm going to be placing you both in separate breakout rooms to sequester you until it's your time to testify.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
And Mary Jane,
Yep.
I'm getting a message that my camera isn't working. I'm not quite sure why, but give me a second to try to figure that out.
Okay, no problem. All right, both witnesses have been sequestered. Also, board, Dawn sent in 2 documents that I placed in the folder today. She said she was going to be using in her testimony. It came in late. I don't know if Attorney Menzel is going to challenge it or not. So I just wanted, if we need to, we'll need to, if we may need to take a break during the hearing to look over those documents. So board, I don't think it's a necessary need to go through them right this second. If we need to, we can break during the hearing.
Okay, I think that'll be wise.
And I'm not sure, Mary Jane, I might need to restart my computer because I have no idea why the camera's not working.
Okay.
Give me just a second to do that.
There you are. You're muted, Dawn.
I said thank you. Sorry about that.
Okay. I will start the hearing if everybody is ready. So just to let everybody know, Lynn is having technical issues. She is on the telephone this morning. So that's why you only see 2 board members.
Okay.
Today's date is October 2nd, 2024, and we are doing Northern State Correctional Facility hearings via Microsoft Teams. This is a parole violation hearing for Kyle Lowe. Present is Parole Board Vice Chair Pat Bushy. Parole Board members Tom Giffen and Lynn Caroleo is on the telephone. Parolee Kyle Lowe, Probation Parole Officer Shannon Moran, Prisoners' Rights Attorneys Don Seibert, Assistant Attorney General Bob Menzel, and Parole Board Director Mary Jane Ainsworth.
Thank you, Mary Jane. Good morning, Kyle.
Good morning.
We are going to hold this hearing in two parts. The first part, we're going to talk about the alleged violations to your parole agreement. I will read these two conditions to you, and you will either admit or deny violating them. Any that you deny, we will ask Shannon to tell us about. We'll make a determination based on that. In the second part, we're going to talk about disposition, or what we're going to do as far as your parole status is concerned. Anytime you feel the need to speak with your counsel, Don Seibert, just let us know, and we'll make sure that you get put in a secure room so you can talk to her confidentially. Okay?
Thank you.
Could you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear the information you provide in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Shannon, could you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear the information you provide in this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. So Kyle, I need to tell you that it's alleged you violated condition number 1 of your parole agreement. So anything you say here cannot be held against you unless you testify in a criminal case and you say something different there than you say here, then it can be used to challenge that testimony. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So it's condition number 1. You shall not commit any act punishable by law, including violations of court orders. Do you admit or deny violating that condition?
I deny that one.
Okay. And number 2, you shall report within 24 hours to your parole officer any contact you have with law enforcement. Do you admit or deny violating that condition?
I admit that one.
Okay. So Shannon, we need to know about condition number 1.
Good morning.
Good morning.
On August 7th, I was informed and I spoke with Officer Sykes that he was going to be citing Mr. Lowe for of course now I can't think of it. For
Simple
the
assault.
the simple assault, and then possibly false information to law enforcement. It all depended on how the conversation went when Officer Sykes was speaking with Mr. Lowe. So the alleged assault happened on July 28th, where Mr. Lowe was at an individual's residence looking to obtain a dog. I believe the dog, it came from Mr. Lowe. So he went over there. There was an altercation between him and the individual, Mr. Jucknat. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. And Mr. Lowe assaulted Mr. Jucknat by punching him in the face. And it caused Mr. Jucknat injuries. So even though he hasn't been arraigned on it yet, it's still the act of him engaging in assaultive and criminal behavior, and then he was cited for the incident.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Don?
Well, we don't actually dispute that version of events. Our argument here is that Mr. Lowe was acting in self-defense, and if we don't dispute the version of the facts that's contained in paragraph 12 of the officer's affidavit, which is where Mr. Lowe had was forthcoming with the officer about what happened between he and Mr. Jucknat. The sources of law that I submitted to the board basically were submitted for the purpose of explaining to the board that in Vermont, an assault is not an assault if it's done in self-defense, and in Vermont, once self-defense is raised by the facts, it is the state's burden to disprove, and that's the purpose of the sources of law that I submitted.
Okay, can I just stop you for a second, Dawn?
Sure.
I think we need to take a break so we can read them.
Okay.
You just submitted them, correct? And we haven't
This morning,
had a chance,
yes.
Yeah, we haven't had a chance to look them over. So
Okay.
if we can just take a quick break and we'll review them.
And then maybe Bob and I could be in a breakout room for a second just to talk about, I'm not sure if he still intends to present Officer Sykes or,
Okay, that's between you, but we'll
Okay.
read what you submitted.
okay,
Yeah, I did want to just reserve the ability to call Officer Sykes just to clarify some points.
okay. Do you want to
Okay.
talk for a minute, Bob, or no?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
All right, I'm opening your breakout room. Lynn, do you need me to send those documents to you in your other email?
Yeah, that would be great, but I don't think I'm in the breakout room.
No, because there isn't
We're
a
not.
breakout room.
Oh, we're just on break. I get it. Okay. All
Yep.
right.
No.
I'll forward you those over to your to your other email, so that way you can
Great.
review too.
Perfect. Thank you.
It just dawned on me. Sorry. They should be coming over.
Great. Thank you.
Yep. Bob and Don are on their way back.
I'm all set.
All set.
Me too.
All right, Bob and Don are back. The board is all set. We
Yep.
are back on the record.
So can I have a quick breakout with Shannon real quick?
Of course. So we are not back on the record. Bear with me. Sorry,
Sorry.
Bob.
Yep.
I shouldn't have cut you off.
Nope, sorry about that.
No, it's all good. It's one of those days.
Sure is.
Hump day.
Hump day.
All right, you two are headed in a breakout room. You're going back to room 6, Bob.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Bob and I were laughing because when I told MJ we were done in the breakout room, I hit the 4, so it said we're done for. And we were laughing because we were like, I feel like I'm done for. Like it's only, 9:45 in the morning, and
I didn't even put 2 and 2 together, but that is quite funny.
I didn't mean to, but we had a good laugh about it.
It's all good. I feel like that most every day.
One inside, so I'll be right here. If you need me, just knock on the door, knock on. Okay.
And today it started bright and early, so I get it.
We do have 2 witnesses for disposition.
Okay.
MJ, they ask that you call them? Can I give you
Okay.
their numbers?
Just 1 second. I just gotta open up somewhere to write it because I don't have a piece of paper next to me. That might sound strange, but okay. Go ahead.
The first one is Jeremy Joy, Mr. Lowe's employer. He's at 907-317-9120.
Okay.
And the other one is Sarah, Mr. Lowe, I forget her last name. What is Sarah's last name?
Blair. Blair. Blair.
Oh, Blair, sorry, Sarah Blair, 802-323-2199. It's Mr. Lowe's partner.
2199, is that what you said? The last
Yeah.
4?
Mhm.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you. We did just get word this morning that our new attorney is going to start on November 4th.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Yeah. So with Jill going out in October, it's been really worrisome. How to handle our civil docket and the parole board matters with just 2 attorneys. That was back in the day, Seth and I, 25 years ago, right? There were only 2 attorneys.
I remember.
That was a long time ago.
So Don Matthews is coming back?
Briefly, yeah, she's going to help us out while Jill's gone. She's so excited.
I haven't seen her for so long.
Yep.
She will be here in November.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Be nice to see her again.
Both of our
Well, you have
kids
to be
are
assigned-
seniors now, Pat.
Huh? What, Don?
I said both of our kids are seniors now. Don Matthews' son and my daughter headed off to college next year. It's hard to
I
believe.
remember when they were born.
I know you do. Mhm.
Well,
Wow.
Pat, you have to be assigned to one of the days in order to see her.
That's right.
I will try to do that, or you will.
Yeah.
You'll have to tell me when she's on.
Jill's days.
Okay. I'm sure
Just
I'll
tell-
encounter her.
Just tell Dean you on Jill's days.
Yeah. Well, yesterday was a Jill day.
Well, November.
Yes, but I mean, it was St. Albans, so.
Yeah, St.
Hopefully
Albans, Rutland, and Burlington, Chittenden, or
Yep. Hard to believe they're seniors.
Yeah, it's really hard for me to believe. It's so exciting though, but it'll be poignant when they go, that's for sure.
Yeah. colleges in the future?
Oh, yes. Yeah, they're both excited. Noah's girlfriend is a senior. I'm sorry, she's a freshman in college this year, and she's at Dartmouth. So
Okay.
now all of a sudden he wants to stay in New England. Loretta is definitely not staying in Vermont. I think she might end up in Boston, which would be great. I'd be so happy if she were close.
Yeah. She going to Boston College or?
Well, she doesn't know yet. She's applying there. She really loved Boston College.
Yeah.
So we'll see. She's applying to a few schools in Boston, a few schools in Washington.
My daughter went to Emerson in Boston.
She's applying there. Yeah. Did your daughter like
She
it?
loved it. Had a great education, great career from there.
What did she end up doing?
She's in marketing.
Oh, nice.
She's in Florida, but she's marketing director, and she has like Publix. She does all of their marketing for them.
Nice.
The grocery chain.
Oh, Publix, yeah. When I lived in
she-
Georgia, that was our local chain. We always went to Publix.
She does all of their marketing for them, and
Oh, great.
she has a couple of assistants, and she's done well.
It's kind of
But
a high-end grocery store, Publix. Like it's
Yeah.
it's really
I like
nice.
it.
Yeah. Loretta's is considering international relations. She wants to travel. She wants to work abroad. Maybe in the State Department or something of that sort. So, but she's
That'd be
definitely
great.
considering Emerson also. That's one of the schools she's applying to.
Yeah.
All right, they are on their way back. We are back on the record.
Thank you. So we have read what you sent us, Dawn. So you were in the middle of telling us about, I don't know if it was a plan or whatever you were telling us about, Kyle.
So I want to turn to Bob for a second because I'm not sure where we stand right now in terms of witnesses and the allegations.
Okay.
Things might have
Yeah.
changed since his breakout room.
No, I think we're gonna, we'll call Officer Sykes.
Okay. I think we're going to present witnesses, Pat, and then argument.
Okay, sounds good. So Officer Sykes,
He is on his way back now.
thank you.
So when he does arrive, Officer Sykes is under the name Travis Bingham on the computer.
Okay.
All right, Officer Sykes, I believe you have returned to the main hearing room.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. All right,
Thank
Pat.
you. Thank you. Good morning, Officer Sykes.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. For the record, could you state your name
Colin Sykes.
and your occupation?
I'm a night shift officer with Newport Police Department.
Okay. Could you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear the information you provide this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Bob, are you handling this?
Yes.
Okay.
Good morning, Officer Sykes. How are you this morning?
Good. How are you?
Good. So you're an officer with the Newport Police Department?
Yes, sir.
All right. And how long have you been with the Newport Police Department?
8 years.
I'm sorry, how many?
8.
8. Okay, thank you. Were you on duty on July 28th of 2024?
I was.
And were you dispatched to 34 Orchard Street, Newport?
Yes, I was.
And can you describe for the board what the scene was when you arrived there?
When we arrived, we had initially got a report that there was a male barely breathing and bleeding on the road. When we got there, nobody was in the road, but we did find a basketball-sized puddle of blood on the road with some blood droplets leading into 34 Orchard. And from there, we located Joel Jucknott that was inside the house, who was the injured individual
Okay.
from the road.
And can you describe the the injuries that you observed when you encountered Mr. Jucknat?
Yep. So he was bleeding from his face. His lips were swollen. He had a pretty large gash on the back of his head that was still bleeding. He had some coagulated blood on the back of his head. He was still kind of dizzy and staggering a little bit. From that point, we got him to the ambulance, which was just down the road.
Okay. And did you conduct some additional investigation after Mr. Jucknat was in the ambulance?
We did. We spoke to witnesses, which were neighbors, and some of the individuals that were inside of the house where Joel was.
All right. And did you also have an opportunity to review some security footage?
We did, yeah. Later on, they had to email it to us.
Where did that security footage come from, a neighbor, or what was the source of that security footage?
Yeah, it was a neighbor, just down the road.
Okay. And did you, following your follow-up investigation, were you able to identify a suspect in the assault that occurred on Mr. Jucknat?
We were, after speaking with some of the individuals from inside the house, and after reviewing the security camera footage, we identified the suspect as Mr. Lowe.
And were you able to verify that through the security footage?
We were. Witness statements gave us a clothing description, which matched the security camera footage.
All right. And at some point later that day, did you speak with Mr. Lowe about the incident that occurred at Orchard Street?
Yes, I did.
And describe the conversation that you had with Mr. Lowe on that day.
On that day, I asked him about what happened. He did say that he went over there to talk about a dog that he had given or sold to Phyllis Greer. He said he went over there because the dog wasn't being cared for. He said an argument occurred between him and Joel, but nothing was physical, and he left with a dog without incident.
Okay, so he stated at that time that he didn't hit Mr. Jucknat?
He did, yeah, and he swore to those statements.
Okay, and then did you speak with him at a later date?
I did, yep. During that conversation, we talked a little bit more. Mr. Lowe was a lot more truthful and forthcoming about what had happened. He explained that he did go over there to talk about the dog for the same issue. There's an argument he had with Mr. Jucknat. He advised me that he was spit on by Mr. Jucknat. He had concerns about some disease transfer. At this point, he headbutt Mr. Jucknat, and he punched him, and that's when Joel hit the ground and hit his head off the road.
Okay, and did he state that that Mr. Jucknat came at him?
During the meeting, he said after he was spit on, he told me that Joel had flailed his arms, which he took as a threat that he was coming back at him, which is when he punched him when Joel hit the ground.
Okay. Don't have any other questions for Officer Sykes.
Thank you. Don?
Good morning, Officer Sykes. My name is Dawn Seibert, and I represent Mr. Lowe. I just first want to show you a photo. Hold on one second. Let me. Pull it up.
So Dawn, if nobody objects, Lynn cannot, she's on the phone. If nobody objects, I can take a picture and then text it to Lynn if nobody objects with that.
I can
so
also
she can see it.
I can email them to you, MJ.
Okay,
Is it-
it's
I mean,
either
you
way,
can-
it doesn't matter. I think if I text it to her, if I just take a photo of what you're showing on the screen, it might be easier for her to see than through email right now because she's locked out of her state email.
Oh, okay. I sent them to you anyway, but
Okay, that's fine.
for what it's
I
worth,
just
then they'll
wanted
be
to let everybody know that I am going to get the pictures to Lynn as well.
okay.
Fine.
Hold on one sec. Here we go. Officer, hold on a second. Officer Sykes, can you see the picture of a house on the screen?
I can, yep.
Okay, is that the house you went to, 34 Orchard Street?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, does that kind of depict how the house looked on that day?
Similar, yep.
Okay.
If not exactly the same.
Can you see this photo of the street in front of the
Yes,
house?
you can.
Did you see
Yep.
that writing on the street when you were there?
That writing has been there for quite some time, yes.
Okay, okay. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing. Hold on a second. Oh, there we go. Okay, so Officer Sykes, so you went to 34 Orchard Street because of the report of the assault, and looks like you knocked on the door of the house.
So the actual address, the house that you showed, which is Joel's, I believe is 35.
Oh, okay, sorry, 35.
And
All right, so
yes,
you got
we did go
there.
to 35 Orchard, which is the house that you showed.
Mhm.
We knocked on the door. I believe we had to knock on the window as well to get them to come out.
Okay, so Joel didn't come out immediately.
Not immediately, no, it's a short time.
Okay, and did anyone answer the door when you knocked?
We could hear people talking and moving around inside the house, yeah, but nobody really answered us. And we did hear Joel after a minute say something from inside the house. I think he said he was coming to the door, and we just waited.
But you also had to knock on some windows to get their attention?
There's a window directly next to the door we knocked on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How many people were inside the house when you arrived?
I don't know exactly how many. It's quite common that most people inside of that house in particular don't want to come to the door. We spoke with 3 individuals that said they were inside the house at some point.
Okay. I'm going to go back to something you just said. You said that at that house, it's quite common that people don't want to come to the door. Can you explain that?
Yep. Generally speaking, given the drug activity that goes on at the house, anytime we're there, by nature of what's going on at the house, they don't want to come out and talk to us.
Okay. So the reticence to open the door to law enforcement was not unusual.
Right.
Okay. So, and then when you opened the door, or when Mr. Jucknut came to the door, he didn't tell you what happened. He didn't tell you that Mr. Lowe hit him, did he?
Nope. He said the road hit him.
Okay. All right. And the video that you got from the neighbors, it didn't show the actual altercation, did it?
It did not. Nope.
Okay. So it showed Kyle arriving without a dog, right?
Yep.
Okay. And then it showed Kyle leaving with a dog.
Yes.
Okay. And none of the witnesses that you spoke to told you that they saw the altercation, did they?
Not in the initial statements, no.
Okay.
They
All
did
right,
later on after we talked to them.
Okay. So you said when you spoke with Kyle on August 7th, and you said at that point it appeared that he was being truthful and forthcoming?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And he told you that Mr. Jucknut spit at him, right?
Yep.
And that spit hit him in the face?
Yeah, I believe he told me to hit him in the nose or in that region.
Okay. And he said that he thought that Joel had a communicable disease, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then he said he headbutted Joel, and then Joel came back at him, flailing his arms around. Kyle thought that was threatening, and he thought Joel was going to punch him, right?
He just took it as threatening. I don't recall him saying he was going to hit him.
Well, you said in your statement in paragraph 12 that Kyle said he thought he would be punched. Is that accurate?
I don't have my affidavit in front of me. I can pull it up if you'd like.
Well, I'm reading from your affidavit. I can only assume that it's accurate based on the statements that Kyle gave you, right?
Yep.
Okay. And that in response to that threat, Kyle admitted that he hit Joel.
Yep.
Okay, but he didn't think he hit him that hard. But then he said Joel did fall to the ground, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then that was the end of it when, Joel was on the ground and then Mr. Lowe left, right?
That's what the statement said. Yep. The video that we had, as you said, didn't show the altercation. However, that's what appeared to have happened.
Okay, but the part about when the altercation was over, which you could hear on the video,
Yep.
and Mr. Lowe left, that was consistent with the video footage.
Yes, it was. Yep.
Okay, and then you cited Mr. Lowe for simple assault, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Are you familiar with the statute, assault of a protected professional, 13 VSA 1028?
Yes, I am.
One of the subtitles is assault with bodily fluids, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that statute criminalizes spitting on a protected professional, including police officers, right?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so in that context, spit is considered an assault, right?
In that statute, it does. Yep.
Okay, and that it doesn't matter where the spit lands; it's still an assault if someone spits on an officer.
Yep.
Okay, and the saliva is more than just kind of gross, but it can contain contagious diseases, right?
It can. Yep.
Okay. And would you agree that it's worse to be spit on in the face than in maybe the leg or your foot?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Yeah.
And it's worse because germs enter the body through mucous membranes, right?
Yeah, disease isn't going to go through your skin. It'd have to be inside of your mouth or your eye, but it's still gross to be spit on. Yeah.
Or your nose, because there's membranes inside your nose, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Dawn,
And is it Go ahead.
may I interrupt real quick? I am sorry. Northern is going to need to move Mr. Lowe to another room. They had this room reserved for court, and they, I don't think we anticipated it being this late. So would it be okay if we took a couple minute break for Stephanie to move him?
Yeah, I think I'm done with Officer Sykes, so give me 1 second. Yeah, I don't need to. I'm finished with my question. So unless Bob has follow-up.
I do have a couple of brief follow-up questions, but
Okay, let's move,
all right.
Kyle,
Okay.
and then we'll pick up from here.
Thank you so much.
Sorry about that, everybody.
No, we're adaptable.
I tried to warn in chat and then
I saw it.
it's hard. It's hard. It is very hard.
I saw the chat come up, but then I didn't read it and then it disappeared.
Yeah, it's all good. Lots of moving pieces. I waited for your pause, Dawn. And it's like, she's gonna have a pause, maybe.
I
That's
knew
right.
you were waiting for an opening.
That's right. I gave it to you finally.
I'm just gonna take a quick comfort break. I hopefully be back before they're done moving them. Oh, maybe not.
No, I think you're good, Bob. I think
Okay.
she's gonna log off this computer.
Okay, cool. I'll be back in a minute.
Okay.
He's back.
Why, hello there, everybody.
Hi.
Morning,
This moment,
Scott.
you can call me Stephanie. No, I identify as Stephanie now.
Okay, sorry. Thank you.
Very excited to hang out with you guys.
We are back on the record.
Thank you. So, Bob, you had some follow-up questions for Officer Sykes?
Yeah, just briefly. So, you're not aware of Mr. Lowe having any status as a protected professional individual, correct?
I most certainly do not know.
Okay. And did you have a chance to review your affidavit that you filed?
I did, yep.
And counsel asked you if Mr. Lowe stated that he thought Mr. Jucknott was going to hit him. Is that in your report that he stated that?
Like I mentioned, I'd have to pull it up and actually read it to recall exactly what's in there word for word.
All right. Can you do that? Or is it?
I can. Yep.
Yeah.
No, I can. Be a quick second. Dawn, you said that was paragraph 12 you're referencing?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. What was your question, Robert?
I'm actually going to withdraw that question. So he had not mentioned anything in that nature to you the first time that he spoke with you, correct?
Correct. Yep. He said everything went fine. They just had a brief discussion and he left without incident.
Okay. And then his story changed pretty significantly on August 7th when you spoke with him?
Yep.
I don't think I have any other questions.
Thank you.
Just two follow-ups. Just to reiterate what you said on direct the first time, his story changed on August 7th, and it was your impression at that point that he was being truthful and forthcoming, right, Officer Sykes?
Yes.
Okay, and just to be clear on the sentence I was referring to, in paragraph 12 of your affidavit, there's a sentence that says, he, referring to Mr. Lowe, then stated Joel came back towards him, flailing his arms around, to which Lowe took as a threat and thought he would be punched. That's what your affidavit says, right?
Yep.
Okay, and that's what Mr. Lowe told you, that he thought he would be punched.
It is, yep.
Okay, no further questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Officer Sykes.
You're welcome.
If nobody has any further questions for him, we can probably let Officer Sykes go back to whatever.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you have someone else?
Yeah, I just have some very brief testimony from Andy Bartnick.
Okay.
I believe he's in a breakout room.
I think so.
He is on his way back.
Thank you.
He has returned to the main room.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, Andy.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. For the record, could you state your name?
Sure, it's Andrew Bartnick.
Okay. Could you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear the information you provide this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Dawn?
Thank you, Pat.
Okay.
I'll start with this witness. Mr.
Okay.
Bartnick, what is your occupation?
I'm a private investigator.
And could you tell the board briefly what your experience is as an investigator how long you've been doing it, and what types of cases you've investigated?
Sure. I've been a criminal defense investigator for about 30 years. I've worked in Vermont since 1999. I worked at a federal public defender office doing defense investigation there for about 14 years. And then in 2013, the beginning of 2014, I got my private investigator's license in Vermont. So I've been a licensed PI in Vermont for about 10 years now. I do a lot of criminal defense work still. I do other sort of traditional or other sort of private investigator cases, background checks. I work a lot with the Defender General's office. I work with the private bar, and I have private clients as well that call me for things.
Mm-hmm. And in your work on the cases you mentioned, is part of your job to talk to witnesses?
It is, yeah. That's a big part of my job, is to go to crime scenes, approach witnesses on the phone or in person, hopefully in person, and take statements, get information from them.
Okay. So what you bring to the case as an investigator is the ability to get people to talk to you, right?
I hope so, yeah. As a good I like to think of myself as a good investigator, and a good investigator has to have a lot of different approaches to get a witness to open up and talk to him. And I like to think that I have a lot of different approaches.
Okay. So what did I ask you to do in this case, Andy?
So we started talking about Kyle's case in early September. You asked me to go to Newport and see if I could locate the person who's the alleged victim in the case, Joel Jucknott. And we talked about additional witnesses that were listed in the parole violation paperwork, and to try to track them down as well and to talk to them. So the work that was requested in a shorter version was go to Orchard Street in Newport and talk to witnesses and the alleged victim.
Okay. And did you do that?
I did. On September 19th, I went to Newport. I arrived there around 11 o'clock in the morning, and yes, so I did.
Okay. I'm gonna show you first some of the pictures that you took. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. I have to share.
Sure.
There we go. Mr. Bartnick, is that a picture that you took at the scene? Can you see it?
No, I can't see it.
Can anyone else see it?
I can see it.
Really? Huh. I don't know why I can't see it. I see all of you people. I see Dawn, and then I have a black spot where the picture should be.
Hold on a second. Let me try sharing it again.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not sure why I can't.
Let me try again.
And everyone else can see it.
Mm-hmm. It takes up the whole middle of the screen.
Yeah, the whole middle of my screen is black.
Huh.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm not sure why. I could see all you folks, but I just have a black screen.
Okay, I think we can.
Dawn, are you offering this to like authenticate it or whatever?
I just wanted him to talk about the scene and what he saw, and then the photos sort of illustrate. There's other photos besides the house photo. I was just going to start with that one, but I don't think the photos are. I
mean, I can certainly describe what I saw, and I did take a number of photos that I provided to you.
Yeah, why don't you do that?
Yeah, so when I got to 34 Orchard Street, I got out of my car, and the house looked pretty beat up. And the first thing you notice when you pull up is someone had written in large block letters on the road right in front of the house, no more drugs, and house of death, with arrows pointing toward the house. The other houses in the neighborhood were fairly well kept, but this house looked pretty beaten up.
Okay. And who did you see when you arrived? Can you describe the people in the vicinity of the
Sure.
house?
Yeah, the first person, so I went to the door. That was the first thing I did is I went to 34 Orchard and knocked on the door. A woman came to the window that was adjacent to the side porch that was wide open. She refused to identify herself, and I just presented myself as a defense investigator wanting to speak with Joel Jucknott. She said that he wasn't there.
I'm going to object to anything that the individual said. It's hearsay.
That's fine. Mr. Barnett can move on. Did you encounter someone that you knew at the house?
I did, yeah. Actually, it was outside the house. As I was walking back to my car, a man approached me who had recognized me from a prior case that I had worked on 5 or 6 years ago. And I spoke to him and asked him.
I'm going to object to the content of the conversation. It's hearsay.
Without testifying to the content, was that person helpful in locating Joel?
Yes.
Okay. And what happened? Let's cut to the chase. What happened when you encountered Mr. Jucknott?
Mr. Jucknott spoke to me outside the house.
I'm going to object to any contents of any conversations with Mr. Jucknott. It's hearsay.
We don't have a statement from Mr. Jucknott, do we?
We only have what's in the officer's affidavit. And really what I want Mr. Bartnick to testify to is not what Mr. Jucknott said, but just that Mr. Jucknott actually was unwilling to speak with him about the incident. So it's not the content of what he said, it's the fact that he wouldn't speak with him. So I don't think there's a hearsay objection because we're not trying to get in statements of Mr. Jucknott. We're trying to get in the lack of statements, actually. But I'm going to move to a different area for a minute. Could you describe Mr. Jucknott's appearance, Mr. Bartnick?
Sure. He was disheveled. He had a hard time making eye contact. He was kind of hunched over. His legs appeared to be in bad shape. They were discolored. I believe it was his left. Yeah, it'd be his left leg was wrapped in gauze, like loosely wrapped in gauze going up his leg. There appeared to be some open sores on his leg that I saw.
Anything else that you recall about his appearance?
Yeah, he was hunched over. One of his I think he said he had broken one of his hands, so it was difficult for him. I extended my hand to shake his hand, and he had said that one of his hands was injured, his right hand specifically.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
He didn't look well. He didn't look healthy.
Was he steady on his feet?
No, I wouldn't say he was steady on his feet.
Okay. And did you attempt to speak with him about the incident between he and Mr. Lowe?
I did.
Okay. Was he willing to speak to you?
Not about that, no. He wasn't willing to describe the incident. He wasn't willing to talk about Mr. Lowe at all, about what happened. He wouldn't even acknowledge that that he knew Mr. Lowe or had seen him on that day.
Okay. No further questions from Mr. Bartnick.
Thank you. Can you stop sharing your screen?
I'm sorry. Yes, I apologize.
I got everybody in a tiny little box on the side.
There you go.
Thank you.
No further questions.
Thank you. Bob, did you have any other questions?
No, I don't have any questions for Mr. Barnett.
Okay. Thank you, Andy.
Sure, you're welcome. I will click leave. Okay, I'm out of here.
You're all set. Can I have a very brief breakout with Mr. Lowe before we close the evidence?
Sure.
Give
Thank
me
you.
one moment.
I'm gonna lock up the case so you two can actually
And
talk,
it can,
talk alone.
while we're in our breakout, I do think that Mr. Menzel and I have agreed as to the law that applies to this case. And Bob, you're going to correct me if I'm wrong, as you always do. I think we've agreed that the law that's described in the Barrett case, and I'm referring to the highlighted piece where it says that the burden is on the state to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the acts were not done in self-defense. I think we agree that the burden is shifted to the, not shifted, but the burden is on the state to prove that this wasn't self-defense, and we're also in agreement that in the parole context, it would be that the state has to prove by a preponderance that the acts were not done in self-defense. So I think we agree that it's not Mr. Lowe's burden to prove self-defense, it's the state's burden to disprove, as the Barrett case lays out, but that the burden on the state to disprove is only by a preponderance because it's the parole context, not the criminal context. Did I state that correctly, Bob?
Yes.
Okay, so just wanted to clear that up in case you guys are still reading while I'm in the breakout with Mr. Lowe.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, I'm opening that breakout room now.
Thank you.
Kyle, when you're done with your meeting, just wave your hand so I know to come back out. Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna go to the law library, see if privacy. Okay.
MJ, I need to step away for 1 second, but I'll be right back.
Okay.
We're dwindling.
They are on their way back.
See that? I got a case.
All right, we are back on the record.
You. Okay. Bob, you're muted. Just in case you were going to talk.
Nope, I was waiting for Don. I thought Don was
Okay.
So no further evidence, just argument on the condition 1.
Okay. Go ahead, Don.
So, our argument here is that this was self-defense, and it's self-defense as the officer describes, Mr. Lowe told him in paragraph 12 of the affidavit. The way this played out is Mr. Jucknott spit at him in the face. Mr. Jucknott, who by Andy Bartnick's description appeared to be quite unhealthy, spit at him in the face. And no, Mr. Lowe is not a protected professional. I wasn't trying to say that he was, but I was trying to make the point that a spit can be an assault, especially when it's in the face, and especially in a situation where there's a real concern about communicable diseases. Mr. Bartnick described open sores on Joel's leg. You know, he looked unhealthy and he spit at my client in the face. And so my client responded by headbutting him, at which point Mr. Jucknott came back at Mr. Lowe, flailing his arms, and Mr. Lowe thought he was going to be punched. So he punched him. He didn't punch him hard. Again, Mr. Bartnick described, Mr. Bartnick described that Mr. Jucknott was not steady on his feet when he met with him. So it's not surprising that Mr. Jucknott fell and he hit his head, but that wasn't, wasn't Mr. Lowe's intent that he fall and hit his head. He didn't think he hit him that hard. Like, that's the evidence in the officer's affidavit. And so the problem here for the state is that they have to disprove self-defense. And they don't have a witness to do that because Mr. Jucknott has shown through his conversation or lack thereof with the officer, his refusal to speak with the defense witness, you know, Andy Bartnick. He didn't testify today, so that there's no evidence to disprove self-defense today. And there's actually a strong suggestion that he's not going to be willing in the criminal case either to disprove self-defense. And so that's our argument, that the board can't find a violation of condition 1 because the state has to disprove self-defense and it hasn't disproved it here.
Thank you. Bob?
So there are some factors. I mean, I don't think it's not really disputed at all that Mr. Lowe headbutted and punched Mr. Jucknott. He confessed that to Officer Sykes, who testified to that effect. You know, notably, he told 2 different stories on 2 different dates, and those stories changed, which I think goes to some degree to credibility. You know, one of the things is that the use of force, if you look at the actual self-defense jury instruction that Don provided, one of the elements of self-defense is that the use of force was necessary to avoid harm. And so, you know, based on the testimony that we've heard and the admissions that Mr. Lowe made to Officer Sykes, it's seriously questionable whether or not headbutting somebody after they've been spit on is an amount of force that's necessary to avoid harm. You know, one of the things about self-defense is that, you know, the characteristic is that there has to be a fear of immediate danger of bodily harm, and that the amount of force that was necessary to avoid that is in place. So the initial headbutt is very reactionary to having been spit on, but it seems like that is a little bit overboard for what the conduct was. Mr. Lowe could have easily just stepped away. He could have walked away and there would have been no further issue. You know, it's interesting because they want to make a big deal out about how unsteady and unhealthy Mr. Jucknott is or was, and it seems like that kind of cuts against the reasonableness of whether or not Mr. Lowe really had a fear of bodily harm. This is an individual that's testified that he's disheveled, he's unsteady on his feet, he's ill. And so the fact that he was headbutted in response to spitting seems beyond the ken of what self-defense covers. The second follow-up is, you know, he indicated that after he headbutted Mr. Jucknat, Mr. Jucknat was flailing his arms, which seems like a fairly reasonable response to having been headbutt. And we already know that there's already been testified that he was unsteady on his feet anyway. And so it calls into question the reasonableness of Mr. Lowe's fear of further harm by the fact that the individual is flailing around after having been headbutt in response to spitting on someone. So, and then again, he punched him with enough force to knock him to the ground and give him significant injuries, according to the testimony of Officer Sykes. Again, calls into question whether the amount of force that was used was necessary, whether it was even necessary to avoid the harm. And so based on the overall picture of things, we would suggest that they haven't proven that this was self-defense. You know, it's an individual who is in the ill health, is unsteady on his feet, and is met with significantly more force after an incident than was the initial incident. And so we'd ask that the finding of violation on condition 1 hold.
Thank you.
Just a really brief response. In terms of the credibility question that Bob raised, the officer testified that it was his impression that Mr. Lowe was being truthful and forthcoming during the conversation that's captured in paragraph 12. And I would also just point out that, you know, Mr. Jucknat was not just flailing his arms, but coming at Mr. Lowe, flailing his arms. Like that's a different scenario than backing up and, you know, trying to steady oneself. He was coming at him. So again, it's the state's burden to disprove self-defense. It's not our burden to prove it. And we would just submit that the state hasn't met that burden here.
Thank you. If there's nothing further, what's the wish of the board?
I'll make a motion for the deliberative session.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to go into deliberative session to discuss the case. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. It is unanimous. We'll be right back.
They're gonna break out.
Thank you.
Break out with Dawn. I need a breakout with Dawn, real quick if possible.
Yep, give me one
Sure.
moment and I will open that up. Put your
Thank
room
you.
up as well.
Thank you.
I'm assuming Shannon and Bob, you are good before I go over with the board?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay.
Unless Shannon wants to talk. But,
I'm all set. Thank you, though.
yeah.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Kyle, did you go over to the breakout room? I'm guessing maybe. It doesn't look like it, but I don't know. Okay. All right, everybody is on their way back.
Construction. Nice. So, yeah, it's just one of those things where it's. You want to get back to your life.
All right.
That's all I want to do.
We are back on the record.
Thank you. Based on the preponderance of the evidence, we are going to find Kyle Lowe guilty of violating condition number 1 of his parole agreement and find him guilty based on his own admission of violating condition number 2, and we will move on to disposition. And Shannon or Bob, what are your thoughts regarding disposition?
Go ahead, Shannon. Just indicate what you're looking for and the reasons behind it.
It was discussion for that we thought the recommendation would be revocation given Mr. Lowe's history that he's already on for violent offenses. This is a concern given what the alleged behavior is, and also the fact of not being informed of what the situation was, and the other big piece out of it, as well as Mr. Lowe had completed the domestic violence program about 2 weeks prior to the alleged incident. And I believe I talked about it briefly during the probable cause hearing, is that the program is for individuals that are currently on for domestic violence for IPV offenses, but it's not solely just around intimate relations and working through those situations, but also working through any type of difficult situations that an individual encounters with anybody, more specifically with partners, but also just anybody in general. And the concern with how Mr. Lowe responded to this incident was concerned given the fact that he did complete the program, which is 52 sessions long and occurred twice a week. So the department feels as though revocation would be appropriate.
Bob, did you want to add anything to that?
Just to point out that he's on parole for violent offenses and committing additional acts of violence while he's on parole. Just doesn't seem to be consistent with the concept of someone being on parole.
Thank you. Dawn?
Thank you. We're asking the board to continue Mr. Lowe on parole or to continue disposition while he litigates the criminal case. We do have 2 witnesses, Sarah Blair and Jeremy Joy. I'm not sure if they're...
Let me call them, Dawn. My apologies.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Is this Jeremy?
Good morning. This is Jeremy.
Hi, Jeremy. This is Mary Jane Ainsworth from the Parole Board. I am calling you in for Kyle Lowe's parole violation hearing.
Sure.
Okay, hold on just a second, Don. I'm going to get Sarah in as well, and then we'll have everybody in the room.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Hello?
Hey, this is Sarah. Sarah, this is Mary Jane Ainsworth from the Parole Board. I'm calling from calling from Kyle Lowe's violation hearing.
Okay.
Okay, you're going to be in the background until Attorney Don Seibert calls on you. Okay.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Yep. There you go, Don.
All right, I'm going to start with Jeremy Joy. Jeremy, can you introduce yourself to the board, please? I know you can't see everyone, but you're on an open line with the Parole board. Can you introduce yourself and explain how you know Mr. Lowe?
Good morning. My name is Jeremy Joy. I know Mr. Lowe through work we've done together. He worked for me for a couple of months. And I'm a small business owner here in Irisburg. I moved over from Alaska 3 years ago, started my own business here, and I currently have no employees because he's the only one that I did have, and I'm kind of waiting for him to get out so I can put him back to work.
And what is your work, Mr. Joy?
I'm a contractor. I've been a roofer for 30 years. I do a lot of doors and windows and decks and metal roofing and shingles, and I do a whole bunch of work for Doug Spates and other contractors in town.
And what was the quality of Mr. Lowe's work when he was working with you?
He's a great carpenter and a hard worker.
Mm-hmm. Are you willing? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I said he shows up on time every day. You know, I never had a problem with him.
Okay. And is there a job with you waiting for him when he gets out?
There is. I've got several more jobs that I need to get done before the snow flies. So.
Okay.
And then I have some more work up into the winter too.
Okay. Is the work that you can offer him, is it full time?
It's not this time of the year. It's going to be at least probably 26 to 35, 40 hours a week. It's going to taper off a little bit come this winter, you know, but I tend to keep pretty busy. So.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Joy. And I'm going to have Mr. Lowe testify next. So, Kyle, you were out on furlough and then parole since April 2023, right?
Yeah.
And what were you doing for work during that period?
It actually took me quite a while to even find a job until I met with Mr. Jeremy Joy, and then I was working for him.
Okay. And what were you doing in terms of rehabilitative programming during that year and a half?
I did do the DV groups. I did attend all my classes. I did have a couple of misses for being sick. But they were excused absence. None were non-excused. So I do know that when I did take this group, I did take it serious, and I did complete it.
And what did you learn in your DV programming?
I actually did. I mean, unfortunately, it is what it is. I did turn around and I did learn different ways to handle different situations, and I've also learned like who I am, a lot of basically who I am and who I've become and how far I've come. And I've also learned that, you know, one mistake shouldn't define, basically explain one individual, you know, because everybody just thinks of an individual off their past and don't want to see that they've changed.
So how do you think you've changed since the programming that you did?
It's ever since I've been in doing all the programming. Like before, like I would have just snapped. I would have been, you know, just beating everybody up, and that wasn't the case this time. You know, in this current situation, I literally went over to go, and it basically taught me different steps on how to handle things in my current situation. Instead of going over and just beating somebody up, I went over to ask questions and figure out what's going on. I got put in a predicament, which I thought I did what I needed to do to protect myself. I mean, this is one of the things that I've learned through the program. I don't just initially go out anymore and say, well, screw this. I'm going to just go start putting my hands on people. That's not who I am. I've learned also, you know, change the point. All I want to do is I want to work. I want to go home with my fiance and my animals. That's it.
So what was it about this situation with Mr. Jucknut that made it really difficult to apply the principles you learned in programming? Like what was unique about this situation?
Well, what's unique about this situation is the individual was literally like right here in my face when he had spat in my face. And at that time where I was standing was on a little bit of an incline on that hill as you've seen in the picture. So it's not like I could just walk away. I had to get the individual from me, and that's what I done. I didn't show up there intentionally to just put my hands on the individual. I showed up there intentionally to have a conversation with the individual due to a agreement that me and the individual that I gave the dog to, you know, had, and I wanted to find out what was going on because I had heard that the individual I gave the dog to ended up overdosing and was on this individual's couch for 4 days, ended up in the hospital brain dead. Well, and the agreement was if anything happened, I was to be called and I was to get the dog back and I would take care of it from there. That did not happen. I found out through the grapevine this is what had happened. And when I went over to speak with Mr. Joel, I didn't go over there looking for any confrontation. I just wanted to go over it and figure out what was going on. And that was what I did. And then once I started questioning him about what was going on, Joel got upset about me questioning him, and that's when he had spit in my face.
Okay. And can you, I just want to make sure the board understands, like, so you gave the dog to Phyllis Greer.
Right.
And this was your puppy.
Yes.
You and Sarah's puppy.
It was something I didn't want to do, but at the time, Sarah was in and out of the hospital 3 times because of her knee surgery because she kept getting infections. At one point in time, the infection was so bad, she had only a 12% chance of living. So I did what I thought was right by the dogs and gave the 2 puppies away because I was working full time and I didn't have enough time, and she was in the hospital. And it's just, I was trying to do right by the animals, and
Okay.
it kind of came back in the rear.
So then you heard that Phyllis had overdosed on Joel Jucknot's couch.
Yes.
Okay, so then you went over there basically to get the puppy, right?
Well, I went over not only to get the puppy, but to kind of figure out what was going on with the individual that I gave the dog to.
Okay, and what did the puppy look like when you picked him up?
When I dropped the dog off, like this dog was like 90 pounds. And I mean, I literally had to hand the dog over with 2 arms. When I showed up and the dog ran out of the house, this dog ended up urinating all over itself because it was scared. When I handed the dog over, you couldn't count any ribs. But when I came in to get the dog, I could count every rib on both sides of this animal. You can count the vertebrae. This dog was definitely not being fed and definitely being abused.
Okay. All right. Let's switch gears for a minute. Can you talk to me about your communication with Shannon while you were out? How often did you meet with her?
It was, and when I first got out, it was like once a week, and then it kind of went to every 2 weeks, and it went to monthly. I worked every time I was asked to go in, I did. I've always been honest with Shannon with just about everything except for this last incident. Honestly, I was scared because I didn't want to go back to jail because everything on my end was going actually really well except for, you know, this incident.
Okay. What kind of relationship do you have with Shannon? How would you describe it?
I describe it as I was honest about everything, except for not telling her about the incident at the time. But anything before that, when I relapsed, I literally told her about it. Like I came out and told her. And you know, it's not, I didn't hide nothing from her. I was always there, and it was just one of those. I was always honest.
And when you relapsed, did you and she make a plan to address it?
Yes, we did.
Okay, and she was helpful?
Yes, she was.
Okay. Okay, great. And then can you talk about where you were living and kind of your plan for where you're going to live when you get out?
At what time are we speaking of here? Because I was at an approved residence, which I ended up sticking up for my fiance, and we ended up getting kicked out because they were using my fiance as a built-in babysitter and not just being very disrespectful towards her. And I had spoke up and said something to the people we were living with, and that caused us to be kicked out. And of course, the individual would stand up for their partner if they thought something was being, taken advantage of or anything of that matter. But after that, we stayed with a friend of ours for a couple of days, which Shannon approved. And then we ended up leaving there, and we were actually at the campground, which Shannon also approved, put a GPS on me. Also, it was from a day-to-day thing, which she was okay with. And then as far as to get out and be able to go stay somewhere, right now I know we have a couple different places. There's an apartment, and there's also I'm not sure exactly the full details. You'd have to ask my fiance Sarah about all that, because I don't really. So yeah, that would be what our goal would be.
Is one of your potential options on Oak Street in Newport?
What's Oak?
With
No.
with Mr. Potwin?
Yes, I did speak with him briefly, and that was one of the places.
Okay, and that's across town from Orchard Street, right?
Right. Also, in that same building, there was another individual that I could stay with too, which is in the same building as Shannon's already approved the first time, with another individual in case this individual has changed. But even if I were to do that, it wouldn't be very long, because I would be able to go right back to work, and we'd be able to. It would literally take maybe a couple of weeks to get enough money just to move into the apartment that I just discussed.
Okay. And if the board releases you, you're willing to wear a GPS unit again, right? Like you were before you were incarcerated?
Absolutely.
Okay, and before you were incarcerated, when you wore the GPS, there were no violations, right?
That's what I'm aware of.
Okay. One more question. When you had the dispute with the people you were living with about how they were treating Sarah, did you apply the principles you learned in programming to that dispute?
Absolutely, I did.
Okay. And what did that look like?
Basically, I pulled Jason aside, the guy I was living with, and specifically told him that I could sit back and watch this go on. And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And it wasn't even Jason; it was his wife that kind of flew off the handle and kicked us out because. Make a long story short, Jason's brother was staying there and watching the kids, and that's how he paid their rent. Well, because Sarah was recovering from surgery and she was home all the time, she was being used as a built-in babysitter and still charging rent and just being talked down to, being disrespected, and I brought up my concerns and what I thought should happen. And when Jason's wife got wind of me speaking up and saying something, she flew off the handle. And I was like, "Listen, I'm not saying this to upset anybody, but I'm not going to sit by and have this happen anymore to my fiance. And I don't think it's right by any means." And she just was in her own state of mind or whatever, and we ended up getting kicked out.
So she escalated, but you didn't, right?
Right.
Okay. I don't have any more questions for Mr. Lowe, but I'd just like to briefly elicit some testimony from Sarah Blair.
Okay.
Sarah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Can you introduce yourself to the board, please?
Hi, I'm Sarah Blair. I'm Kyle Lau's fiance.
And how long have you known Kyle?
Oh, about 15 years.
Okay. And how long have you been dating him?
About a year and a half now.
So you were dating him when he was engaging in the domestic violence programming?
Yes.
And did you see a change in Kyle as a result of that programming?
Yeah, a dramatic change, a very dramatic change.
Okay, and can you describe that, please?
Well, before, if he was to get in an argument, he didn't ask questions. He just full engaged in the argument. And then as the course went on, like if we would have, I don't want to say an argument because we didn't really argue, but a disagreement, he would say, he even come out and say, I need to go for a walk, and he needed to clear his head, get himself figured out, and always wanted to diffuse the situation and try to talk about it. He didn't want it to turn into an argument. And not only do that with me, he did it with everybody that I saw. It was a dramatic change from the old Kyle that I know.
Okay. And can you talk a little bit about your health issues and what you're needing from Kyle right now?
Well, I ended up having to have 3 surgeries in 3 weeks, 2 knee replacements, and in the middle of those, I ended up having, because I had internal bleeding in my leg, so they had to stop that. And the mix of all that ended up with 2 massive infections, MRSA, and another one, I can't think of the name, but at one point, I ended up having like a 12% chance of living. And that we were able to get the infection to be taken care of. And when I was able to go home, he would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to make sure I was all situated, do all my bandages, make sure all my meals were ready for the day. And then he'd get home about 6 or 7 every night, and he'd do all the same things again, whatever I needed, whether it be help in the shower, whatever, he did it. And it was tiring him out. But like, because he went to jail, I ended up having to go back to work 6 weeks early. And now I'm working full time, and it's hard. It's hard. And I'm homeless right now, basically. And I'm staying with a friend, but we need to find, it will be easier when he gets out so he can help.
Okay.
Or I'm going to be homeless if not.
But so you're staying in a place right now, but it's not permanent.
Yes,
You're sort of staying with friends.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. No further questions. So again, we would just ask that the board either continue him on parole or at a minimum continue disposition. His relationship with Shannon is good. He's willing to comply with any conditions the board puts on him. I understand you're found by a preponderance that the state had made its case. I don't think this case is going to result in a conviction. I don't think the state has a witness, nor can the state disprove, without a witness, that Mr. Lowe was acting in self-defense under the standard in criminal court. And so we ask that the board continue Mr. Lowe on parole or continue disposition and let him litigate the criminal case.
Thank you, Don. Shannon or Bob, did you have anything you wanted to say?
The couple things I just wanted to add was when Mr. Lowe was at Oak Street, prior to being incarcerated, he was there only for a couple days because the landlord of the building had said that he wasn't able to stay there long term. That's why he had to go somewhere else. I don't know if that conversation has changed given circumstances, but that's the reason why he was there for a brief amount of time, and then he went to the campground. And we would definitely be looking to do a residence investigation if he is continued, just based on him being a listed offender and the uncertainties of everything that has gone on. And then I think that was it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd just like to point out that whatever happens with the criminal case doesn't really have any bearing on what the board's decision is today. Evidence was presented, the board made its finding. Again, there are different standards of proof. He could be found not guilty. The case could be dismissed, but you all have made a finding that there was preponderance And so I just wanted to insert that I don't think that what happens with the criminal case ultimately matters, because it's the behavior that matters, not the result of the criminal proceeding. So we just asked that that revocation be imposed.
Thank you. There's nothing further. What's the wish of the board?
I'll make a motion for deliberative session.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to go into deliberative session to discuss Kyle's case. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. It is unanimous. We'll return shortly.
Thank you.
Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
This is Mr. Joy. I'm actually at work in the. Do you guys still need me online?
I don't believe so, Mr. Joy. I believe
What's that?
Yeah,
I don't
thank
think
you.
so, but go ahead, Don.
You're excused, Mr. Joy. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Okay, I'll keep my phone on me just in case you need me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
The thing is, though, is they don't want to go and they don't want to, like this whole time I was out, I was actually doing really well, and because of one time, now they want to nail me to the wall.
Mr. Lowe, you're on the open mic, just so you know.
Who's that? Oh, sorry. Let me mute it.
This is the attorney for the department, and I just don't want you to say anything that might get you in trouble or whatever. So, I mean, not that you would, but just be aware of it. It's an open mic.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
The board is on their way back.
Moderator, they told me.
We are back on the record.
Thank you. Based on the testimony presented at this hearing and the repeated pattern of behavior, it's the unanimous decision that we are going to revoke parole for Kyle at this time. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll let Stephanie know what happened. I'll email her paperwork.
All right. Amber, any updates on Mr. McDonald?
I have no updates.
Okay.
He's not here.
Board, this is no-show number 2 for him for his rescission hearing for the parole to detainer. Would you like to issue a warrant for him at this
Yes.
point?
Yes, we would.
Okay.
Yep.
Please.
Okay, so Amber, we will be issuing a arrest warrant for him.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a good day.
You too.
You too,
Amber.
Thanks. All right, so board, we have 2 proposed resolutions. Well, the first one I have on the list is Tyler Benson.
Yep. So he's gonna re-engage with CJC and connect with his services. That's the resolution.
The CJC has confirmed a bed would be available for him. He's maxing out on November 27th, and he's re-engaging, and he's eager to engage with the CJC and connect with services before he finishes
Yeah,
his
it
sentence.
sounds
Right.
like the best plan available,
Yep.
absolutely.
Lynn?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay,
Do we have a motion?
I make a motion
Just
that,
gonna say,
I'm
do we
sorry, I
have a
make a motion that we accept the resolution.
As written. Second.
I have a motion and a second to accept the resolution as stated. And continue, I'm sorry.
No, I didn't know where, I think you can just, okay, keep going.
And
Sorry, I was
continue-
wondering where you were going.
Okay, and continue Tyler Benson on parole.
Second.
No,
Oh,
no.
No, we already did it. We already did it.
No,
We
Pat
already
needs
did
to
it.
call for all in favor.
All in favor?
Yes, all in
Aye.
favor signify
Aye.
by saying aye.
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 It is unanimous.
Pat,
Sorry.
did you say aye? Because I didn't hear your
Yes.
aye.
Oh, aye, yes,
Okay,
sorry, I did.
yep, okay. And Danielle Garceau, proposed resolution for Danielle.
Okay, let me get my notes on Danielle.
So I'll give you the little rundown. She is currently
Yeah.
living with a friend, but anticipates moving into her own apartment in White River. Once an apartment becomes available, she works 2 jobs. She's been receiving substance abuse treatment. She's been on GPS since the beginning of September. Both parties believe that the proposed resolution balances the need for accountability while giving Ms. Garceau the opportunity to demonstrate that she can abide by parole conditions in the community.
All right. I make a motion, we accept the proposed resolution for Danielle Garceau and continue her on parole.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to continue, Danielle Garceau on parole, with the stipulations that is stated in the resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is unanimous. She will be continued on parole.
All right, with that, I think that was our last order of business for today. Unless there was, and I don't think there was anything on the record review, so
Nope.
Nope.
We are
No.
good.
Okay,
All
sounds
right.
good.
Thank you.
This concludes today's hearings.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, have a good day.
You
Thanks,
too.
you too. I will write up the findings
Good afternoon. This is Mary Jane from the Parole Board. The parole hearings have ended for today. I just wanted to let you know.